Let me briefly explain a few things about sleep to you. In total, there are many types of insomnia. First of all, the vast majority of adults can no longer sleep in that position for long periods of time, like carefree little children who just lie down, spread-eagled, and sleep soundly. What are such children like? They have no stress. And then, all of their functions are normal. Nowadays, the vast majority of adults cannot sleep like that. They can't lie flat. They can only sleep on one side, and they keep tossing and turning, sometimes finding it hard to fall asleep. If you see these two sleeping positions, where I have to hug something to sleep, or I sleep on my stomach with my weight pressing down on it, what do these kinds of people represent? Both of these represent a lack of security. This one means that you are afraid of losing what you have in your hands, so you want to press it under your body, you want to pin down your treasure. You feel like you must hug something, and only then do you have something to rely on, and only then do you feel you can fall asleep. As for this child, he is afraid. He is truly afraid. When he sleeps, he curls himself up, huddled in a corner. Even with such a big bed, he only sleeps in this tiny spot, and he sleeps like this every single day. Right, such children might either be bullied at school, or perhaps they have very strong self-esteem but poor academic performance, and the teacher often scolds them in front of the whole class. Or maybe they have witnessed domestic violence between their parents. I don't know the specific reason, but in any case, children like this have issues. For such adults, if it's a woman, she might, for example, be in a love triangle. Or perhaps she has everything she has today due to good luck, and she's afraid of losing it because she lacks the strength to hold on to it. So people like this are prone to sleeping in this way. Now, if you are tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep, but you aren't thinking about any messy or complicated things, you just can't fall asleep. For such people, if you measure their heart rate, it's highly likely that their heart rate is unstable while lying down. When your heart rate is like a roller coaster while lying down, you won't be able to sleep. For such people, there is an issue with the regulation of their sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Therefore, for these people, it is least suitable to go for a walk after eating a meal. Look at that case of high blood pressure. He didn't have high blood pressure originally, but after running for 3 years, he ran himself into having high blood pressure. This person originally had a stable heart rate, but their feet were unstable. They were fine while sitting still, but after they finished walking, their heart rate wouldn't come back down. So you should look back and find a pattern. For example, out of 7 days a week, you go for a walk on 3 days and don't on 4 days. Then, while keeping your bedtime at 10 p.m. for all 7 days, record whether you fall asleep more easily on the days you walk or on the days you don't. If you find that it's harder to fall asleep after taking a walk, it means your feet are in poor condition and their function is very poor. After you finish your walk, every step is a struggle. And then when you lie in bed, your sympathetic nervous system is overexcited and you can't relax. So this is related to training your feet. For such people, if they improve their foot proprioception and foot stability, their difficulty falling asleep might be improved, because they are constantly using their eyes to tell their brain where their body is. So people like this find it difficult to fall asleep. This kind of situation, where they toss and turn, can be understood as their blood constantly remaining in their muscles while sleeping, unable to circulate well to their internal organs. You can also understand it as their brain being unable to locate their body, so they need to toss and turn to remind their brain, I am here. Therefore, for this person, they need to first train their proprioception, and second, train their ability to return blood flow to their internal organs. How do you train this? I'll teach you in a moment. I'll teach you how to move the blood from your muscles to your internal organs. First, you need to make sure your brain knows where your body is when you close your eyes. Secondly, you can move the blood from your muscles to your internal organs before you go to bed. Then when you sleep, the frequency of your tossing and turning might decrease, and your sleep might improve. Generally, people with poor proprioception cannot sleep on soft beds. Some people are picky about their beds when they sleep. Some can't sleep on hard beds, while others can't sleep on soft ones. People who can't sleep on hard beds have issues with joint alignment. Your pelvis might be misaligned, your spine might be misaligned, or your cervical spine might have alignment issues. So these are the people who can't sleep on hard beds because it's hard against hard. And since there's an alignment issue in that area, you just can't sleep. As for those who can't sleep on soft beds, once they lie down, their body keeps sinking due to gravity. Since you can't find your body's position and it keeps sinking, your brain feels insecure. So it's constantly afraid of falling and it keeps pulling you back up, which is why you end up tossing and turning all night. So for people like this, it's a case of the brain and body being disconnected. This kind of issue is a problem with proprioception. So many people have poor sleep, but you only know that it's poor sleep without knowing which type it is. Another type is waking up easily after falling asleep. Some people wake up every 2 or 3 hours. Their sleep is not sound. People like this are constantly in a state of crisis awareness. For example, in ancient times during a war, if there were pursuers behind you and you were hiding in a cave, you certainly wouldn't sleep soundly. At the slightest sound, you would open your eyes and wake up. Now, if a person is always waking up at night, there are a few situations. First, diabetics are prone to this, meaning people with high blood sugar tend to wake up at night. Second, people with an overactive bladder are prone to waking up at night, which is called nocturia, meaning getting up to use the restroom. Third, people living in fear are prone to waking up because they cannot sleep soundly. For example, if something has happened at home recently, or if you have to catch a flight early tomorrow morning and you're afraid you won't wake up on time, you'll be worrying constantly. People who are always worrying or afraid about things are prone to waking up. So, what should such people practice? Practice their ability to exhale, to let them relax, to lower their heart rate, and to lengthen their exhalation. In such cases, it will make them feel better. If blood sugar is high, you have to find a way to stabilize it. If it's an overactive bladder, then you need to exercise your pelvic floor. There are some people who get up to use the restroom, but they don't actually have much urine. They just pass a few drops each time and go back, only to come back again a little later for a few more drops. Right, many people are like this, aren't they? And this can also be improved with exercise. It's just that because for every single issue, if one were to explain it to you in extreme detail, what I'm giving you is the general direction. At this point, it involves an assessment of your pelvis and your pelvic floor function during the breathing process and so on. But what I'm telling you is that all of these can be improved, and they can be improved very, very quickly. Now, if this person keeps dreaming while asleep, it means first they were thinking about things right before going to sleep. Second, after falling asleep, the blood in their brain cannot properly circulate into their internal organs. So what should they practice in this situation? In this case, either change their pillow or work on stabilizing their cervical spine. When the cervical spine is unstable, the brain easily becomes anxious and tense. It tends to overthink and is prone to abnormal electrical activity. So for some people, it's a cervical spine issue, while for others, it's that their sympathetic nervous system is too excited, leading to wild thoughts. There's a saying, what you think about during the day, you dream about at night, right? It means if you think too much during the day, you'll have dreams at night. Generally speaking, what can you do about it? First, practice exhaling well, not inhaling, but exhaling. Second, stabilize the cervical spine. Third, provide a suitable pillow. So, what makes a pillow suitable? Let me teach you. Stand with your heels against the wall and don't tilt your head back. Just keep the back of your head against the wall normally. Then, have someone measure the distance between the back of your neck and the wall. When you buy a pillow, you should lie flat on it, and the height of the pillow after it's compressed should be exactly that distance. That is the most suitable height for you. Don't just measure the pillow directly based on that height. If you measure the pillow as is, without the weight of your head pressing down on it, it won't necessarily be right. You need the height after it's compressed by your head to be exactly equal to that gap. That's the most suitable height for you. But some people might ask, what if I sleep on my side? That was for sleeping on your back. If you sleep on your side, you should measure the distance from your neck to the bone on the outside of your shoulder. Then, when you sleep on your side, the height of the pillow after it's compressed should be just right. So if you sleep both on your back and on your side throughout the night, you should get a pillow that is lower in the middle and higher on the sides. Don't get a pillow that is completely flat. That should work. That is how to choose a pillow. All right, what are these movements teaching you? Before you go to sleep, you want to get the blood flowing from your muscles back to your internal organs. This is specifically for those who have poor foot health. The worse your feet are, the more the muscles around your legs and pelvis will tighten protectively to help keep your feet stable, which causes more blood to be stored in the muscles. So when I need this blood to flow back to my internal organs at night so they can repair themselves, it ends up not being able to return. Therefore, at this time, you should lie down, elevate your feet, and perform these movements. For example, the first one is very simple. It's like this. Look, it's just flexing and pointing your feet, flexing and pointing, moving the fascia like this. There are 3 movements in total. Look at these 3. This one is external rotation, internal rotation, external rotation, internal rotation. This one is spreading your toes, gripping, spreading, gripping. What is this for? To let your brain know where your feet are. When I know where my feet are, I generally know where my legs are. When I know where my legs are, my legs won't move around restlessly all night. How do people usually turn over at night? It's the legs moving that pull the body over because the legs are heavy. So as long as you keep your legs still, your body won't toss and turn. Then how do you know where your legs are? Because proprioception in the legs is very limited, while there is a lot in the feet. Therefore, if you engage your feet before sleep, your brain will be able to know where your feet are. And once you lift them up, isn't it true that due to gravity, the blood in your feet flows back up? After elevating your feet, the blood in your calves and thighs easily moves towards the pelvis, towards the abdominal cavity, which is where the internal organs are located. So just stay like that for 5 minutes, practice for 5 minutes, and then lay flat, letting your exhalation slow down your heart rate. At this point, you might find yourself tossing and turning less throughout the night. This is relatively simple. But listen carefully, don't overdo it to the extreme, or you'll end up with muscle cramps. This exercise is just to promote the return of blood from your extremities back to your internal organs. I'm not trying to build up your muscle strength, so don't go all out and push yourself to the limit. Right, just relax and let your brain know where it is, that's enough. Just a simple movement like this is perfectly fine. You can do this for 5 minutes every night before going to sleep. Then follow up with the inhale for 3 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds breathing. Once your heart rate comes down, you'll find it easier to fall asleep, and you won't be as likely to toss and turn. Pair that with a suitable pillow, and your sleep will likely improve.